There has been a rumor for a while now that Bungie is finally abandoning Marathon. And let's be completely real here for a moment. Let's just look at the facts. It does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Marathon has lost more than 92% of its all-time player peak. And first of all, the player peak was nothing impressive to begin with. And if it was, for example, Crimson Desert, I wouldn't say that that's a bad thing. It's a single-player game, it's fine. But Marathon ain't no single-player game, princess. Marathon is a live service slop fiesta. Something designed to get you in and get you paying constantly. And that's not happening. Marathon was 250 million to make, and I mean, it's not even coming close to breaking even in sales, even with microtransactions and whatnot. And now the craziest thing has happened. There are rumors that Bungie will drop Marathon to create a live service Borderlands looter shooter style live service game. And I know how this sounds crazy, but I honestly believe it. I don't know the evidence for this. This part of the rumor is new to me, but it does sound reasonable, and here's why. Some of you do not know, maybe some of you joined the channel a little bit later on, but I did follow what's happening with Borderlands. Borderlands 4 is a disaster. Borderlands has broken even, as I said previously. It was one of the most successful Vogue games, actually, of all time. Unironically, because it at least broke even. And at this point, Borderlands 4 has most likely made like 10, 15, maybe 20, $25 million in profit. Which probably, well, not profit, not pure profit, but let's say just revenue. And believe it or not, 25 million is not enough to make a AAA game. So Borderlands cooked. Their updates, no one cares about them. The game's just dead. Borderlands 4 is just honestly sad. It's arguably in a sadder state than Marathon, because no one cared about Marathon that much to begin with, but there were Borderlands fans. And they're completely crushed. And Randy Pitchford, the ethereal clown of the industry, doesn't know what to do because Borderlands has had updates, by the way. A lot of them. And not a single one of them has even gotten the current player peak to double. That is bad. That is unbelievably bad. That is your studio's dead type of bad, honestly. And well, with Marathon, it's the same thing. We know that Sony can't just let Bungie fuck around with Marathon for the next 5 to 7 years until they greenlit and make the next game. So they have to do something, and something pretty fast, because Marathon's not gonna ever be a success. It's just a woke shit show. And keep in mind, Marathon fully died on the altar of woke.
I'm thinking that it might be time to say my favorite phrase to Bungie and the Bungie bros out there who persistently
The N-word?
defend their favorite
Oh, no, that's my
studio.
I told you so.
By the way, 2 weeks. I haven't made a video about Marathon's numbers in a while, but 2 weeks and it's going to be under 5K at this rate. It is diabolic.
I told you so.
I have been saying ever since Marathon was revealed that this thing was destined to flop. The game looks hideous. The characters are only memorable as weird androgynous things with no appeal whatsoever to normal people, a point accentuated by the fact that Bungie has been very blatant in its open embrace of Pride Month bullshit and things like that in the past several years. Even the UI is pure crap for Marathon, and now...
Remember when someone counted how many different fonts there are in Marathon, and the number was something ridiculous like 33 or 43 or something like that? And the dev said, well, I'm gonna add more if the chuds don't like it. Marathon is just a giant, we will own the chuds type of deal. And, well, fuck around with the chuds, find out, I guess.
The player count for this game, the big flagship shooter that was supposed to launch Bungie into the future as Destiny 2 faded away and was sidelined, Well, that game is about 4 months old now, Marathon is, and to say that things aren't looking very good for this game is a massive understatement. These days, they have not even been hitting 10,000 concurrent players at its daily peak on Steam. In fact, the last time that they hit 10,000 concurrent players was near the end of June, over 2 weeks ago. And considering that the majority of players for this game were reportedly playing on the Steam platform, well, let's just say that isn't a
80% were on Steam, and then slightly more on PlayStation, above 10%, and Xbox was below 10%.
good sign for their prospects at all.
You did? Yeah, man.
The failures of Marathon, and admittedly, Destiny 2 has been having some rough years as well recently, which led to Destiny 2 being essentially cancelled, but the failures of the Bungie studio as a whole have gotten them into some hot water, with about half the team being laid off, leaving somewhere around 400 to 500 people working at Bungie, and we were told that the remaining people at the studio were going to be tasked with trying to save Marathon and turn its fortunes around. They have already added modes where
Yep. One of the big things when they tried to do this thing, and it was very stupid, was that they were looking for a new community manager with the explicit purpose of getting Marathon back on track. And one of the main thing in the applications for that, in the official applications on the Bungie site to send them your application and CV, was gender. You had like 50 choices of gender, and that was the main thing that they were looking for. Crazy stuff, considering my Marathon is genderless.
players don't have to do the extraction shooter thing, but that has not gotten people interested, as you can tell from the Steam player counts. So, when we hear that Bungie is dedicating hundreds of devs to the ongoing Marathon project, there is only one word that springs to mind.
Why?
Honestly, with as much money as was spent on the making of Marathon, and with as low as their sales numbers have been, just about any other studio would be closed down by its parent company. But this is Bungie that we're talking about. They have about the best pedigree that you can possibly imagine from a studio, and Sony just dropped nearly $4 billion on buying them, so closing them down isn't really an option. From an optics perspective, that would be atrocious for PlayStation, and that brings me to this rumor here, which has been floating around to the point that members of the
Disney style? Wow.
mainstream media have started picking it up. It sounds as though, despite all the bravado about Bungie being committed to Marathon long term, that may have been the BS that we always thought it was. It looks like Marathon may be getting sidelined already for a live service Borderlands game, and I'm sure the reaction of the Marathon defenders will be pretty amusing if and when we learn this turns out to be true.
Boys, remember, a like right now takes less than a second. I greatly appreciate everyone who does. It does help out the channel tremendously, and I appreciate you. Like the video right now.
Alright, me hearties. Now, in order to understand why this rumor makes sense that Bungie might be tasked with the job of making a live service Borderlands game, there are a couple of things to remember.
The irony, of course, of calling it a live service Borderlands game is the fact that Borderlands 4 is a live service.
First of all, and probably most importantly, I don't think there is a company in gaming that is as committed to live service as PlayStation. They have had plans for just about everything to be turned into live service under their umbrella. They just really want the next Fortnite game, The Last of Us, God of War, Twisted Metal, the Horizon series, all of those at one point or another had a live service game planned out, and Horizon still does have a game that is supposedly coming out soon. Sony seems
Oh yeah, and it is the most strange looking thing I have seen in my life. It's gonna be great. Don't worry about it.
Is absolutely committed to that style of gaming despite the fact that it seems to have lost a lot of its popularity in recent years, but beyond that, you also need to remember.
By the way, this scene implies that every robot has the ability to project this guy, and that just seems kind of stupid.
Gearbox has not had a very successful track record recently with the Borderlands franchise, which might explain why their parent company would be wanting to get somebody else to work on a Borderlands live service game. You see, several years ago, Borderlands 3 sold a reported 23 million copies when that came out. This was down a bit from the 30 million or so that Borderlands 2 sold on its release, but 23 million is obviously pretty damn good. But then, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands sold maybe a couple million. We never got specific numbers.
Oh yeah, and I wonder how much the gay wedding expansion sold. And yes, that's a thing, by the way.
As far as the sales for that game, but it looks like it might have been maybe a couple million, which as a spin-off isn't as damning as it could be. Then, the Borderlands movie bombed spectacularly at the box office, but video game films bombing, that's not the biggest surprise in the world, so once again, that wasn't as damning as it could be, but then, Borderlands 4 came out last year, and analysts suggest that only a few million copies were sold. The last estimate was a few months ago, and they were suggesting that they hit about 2.5 million, which supposedly generated about $150 million in proceeds for Take-Two. And keep in mind that the budget for Borderlands 4 is estimated to be somewhere between $250 and $350 million. Obviously,
What did I say about the budget? Anyone remember? I said actually 400. Again, it's gonna be 400 in the end.
this is a huge bomb if this is true, and that is a huge drop off from the sales figures that we saw for the last Borderlands games. I think a large part of the failure has to do with the writing from Borderlands 3 and Tiny Tina. That writing turned a lot of people off, and there were also some major performance issues for Borderlands 4. When you put all that together, you can see why Take-Two Interactive would be interested in getting an outside studio to work on Borderlands, and you can see why PlayStation would be interested in giving Bungie the chance to work on what.
Imagine, you're a failing company that failed because of wokeness. I mean, at this point, it's actually kind of a question, am I talking about Borderlands or Bungie at this point? But, I mean, that doesn't even matter at this point, right? And you contract another studio that failed because of wokeness to deliver a product that is going to save them from the death of wokeness. Two wrongs do not make a right. And in this case, it's like 50 wrongs.
What should be a much safer franchise. With all that said, I will give you the standard disclaimer before I read this article here from Game Rant. All of what we are going to be reading about here is a rumor that I am unable to substantiate, so take it with a grain of salt. But in any event, here the article says a new leak reports that Bungie could be working on a Destiny-style open-world Borderlands game inspired by Borderlands 1. Borderlands is not in the greatest place after the.
There is no world where Borderlands 1 can be imitated by Bungie. Now, I don't know if this is. It just kind of fits to a certain degree. It's a bit wild to say that this is gonna happen. It in a strange way, it does make business sense to do this to a degree, but I think it's gonna probably be some. I really need to buy a new chair, but it's gonna be probably something else. I honestly think at the end of the day, it's just not gonna be enough. It's just not gonna work out.
middling reception of Borderlands 4, and fans have been asking for an MMO for years now, especially with the never-used war prophesied by the Watcher. Given the huge vacuum created by the death of Destiny 2, now would be a good time to realize that game, which a new leak states is in very
Huge vacuum. Wasn't Marathon supposed to pick everything up? What wasn't it? Eh? Eh? Yes, it was. Get Shrek'd.
early stages as a Destiny-like Borderlands 1 remake. Recently, Bungie laid off 292 developers in its studio alone, and more Sony Interactive and contractor layoffs were reported on the same day. This was after the May 21st announcement of Destiny 2's end of service, with the final update for the game releasing on June 9th. Due to the lack of a team to work on the game and resources allocated to it, Destiny 2 disabled 2 armor sets permanently with its last hotfix, and more may follow if game-breaking issues pop up. The company's only
Oh yeah, Disney is so dead, by the way, that it's not even gonna get bug fixes anymore. Now, is this stupid? Yes, but everything Bungie does is stupid nowadays. So it's not like we're deviating from the course. But yeah, it's probably even stupider as you honestly think it is. They're not gonna even fix the Destiny bugs. If something breaks, it's like RuneScape 1 at this point. If a chest opens and doesn't close, GG. GG. Or was the RuneScape 1 sunset at this point? Don't remember. Anyway, it's gonna be fun because this is the fun part of a game dying like Destiny 2. It's tragic, it's bad. I know you don't want this, but it is gonna be interesting time to time to hear that there's a bug in Destiny 2 that, for example, doesn't allow you to queue into a raid any longer. That raid is technically there, but you just can't enter it any longer. Or something like that. It's gonna be interesting to hear about these bugs cropping up time to time. So at least that's gonna be something. But yeah, it's pretty much over. There's nothing honestly to be said about this. Borderlands doesn't have anything to do at this point. It has failed on every level, and Marathon has failed on every level. They might as well have failed together on every level. At least it would be funny. In any case, that was Dr. Disaster. 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Bye!